everyone. Welcome to the Wedding Honey Podcast, the podcast where we chat about weddings with a little bit of sweetness, because we all know weddings can be stressful. We're here to lighten that up. Follow along if you'd like to hear journeys about wedding photography, wedding photographers, and of course, the wedding day. We're also going to be interviewing wedding specialists, and we can't wait for you to follow along. The Wedding Honey Podcast is brought to you by Wedding Biz Kit, a photography business course created by Sounds Like Yellow Photography. After 4 years in university, knowing I wanted to start my own wedding photography business, I had no clue how to write a proper invoice or even professionally run my business. I dug deep and curated a brand that is creative just as much as it is professional. Now, 8 years in of running my own successful business, I am proud to say I have the course for you.
Ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, everyone, welcome back to episode 9 of the Wedding Honey Podcast. We're so excited about our guest today, as we always are, but this is someone who is just a dream to be around, honestly. I literally feel like I become a better person and so much smarter around you.
You're so sweet.
So welcome Alex Howard, who is the previous owner of the Richmond, which is a downtown Toronto wedding venue. Yeah. Wedding and events venue. Yeah.
Art gallery /
True,
venue.
art gallery, yes.
Yeah.
So welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
We're so incredibly, I am so thrilled you're here.
Well, I'm thrilled too, so that's we.
Okay.
We're so happy.
We are so thrilled. We're just so excited that you could be here and share your amazing experience. You've got a lot of awesome stories.
I do.
Too many, yeah. We'll be here for a couple hours, so stay
in.
tuned. Yeah, please do. So first I want to kind of just give everyone a little bit of insight into how we met.
Yes, do it.
This is like probably one of my favorite stories.
Me too.
So jump into.
Okay.
So I was looking to start my white wedding pop-up, which is a wedding show that I would host in Toronto. And I did one on Queen, and I was like, didn't love the venue. And I stumbled across this amazing website, and it had beautiful images of this bright, airy space, and reached out to the owner, their contact page, and heard from Alex. And silly me as like so dumb, but I assumed it was a man.
Sure.
I don't know why.
Everybody does.
It's so weird that we do that, though.
Default to man instead of woman, even though it is a unisex name.
Totally.
But always men.
Yeah. So,
That's so funny.
we had this meeting. I was going to come. We were going to chat. And I get there and I see you and I was like, this gorgeous like angel, sweetest person, and your second.
Yes.
So how old was she then?
She would have been a couple months.
Yeah, I was like, as if you're here, like, just hustling with your, the sweetest little angel. So
super professional.
No, I loved it. I was like, this girl is a hustler. I loved it. I thought it was so awesome. So and I was like, what the heck? Why did I think it was a dude? This girl is so amazing. And I literally fell in love with you that day.
So sweet. And ditto. And the funny story is, from my point of view, I thought you were somebody else. Because being so postpartum, had no memory.
You're right.
Super baby brain.
Yeah.
I was expecting Kelly, who was a yoga instructor, loveliest lady. So you walk in, I'm like, are you Kelly? You're like, no, I'm looking for Alex. I'm like, that's me. Who the hell are you?
I know. I was like, wait, you're Alex? Oh, what?
Yes. So from then on, we were like, we're clearly meant to be friends.
100%.
No idea 100%.
What we're doing.
Let's give this
We
a go.
talked for so long.
We really did.
I was like, I didn't even care about the space. I was like, who is this cool, amazing
I think I went
woman?
home to my husband and was like, I met this woman today and I think I want to be her best friend.
And we literally have done
and
that.
It's been the best time ever.
Yeah, how many years ago was that? 5?
5, because Bridget's now over 5, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god, it's like our 5-year anniversary.
Oh my, this is nice. So that was the best. I loved literally everything about you. I loved that Bridget was there with you. I was like, this girl has this vision of this amazing space, and you brought it to life, which was really cool to see happen. So that's our intro story. So I also want to hear about your journey. What brought you to that day at the Richmond where I came in and met you?
So that's a fun story. So I wanted to be an actor. I don't know how far back you want me to go.
No, I love
we're
that.
We're going to go real deep.
I love that.
So I
Go
wanted to be
deep.
an actor, so went to UBC, did a little theater there,
Cool.
came back to Toronto, got an agent, was going to like do the whole thing. And when you're an unemployed actor, you end up being a server or bartender. So that was where the journey began. So working in fine dining, was loving it, started doing their private dinners. So clients would book out the restaurant for, you know, birthday parties, anniversaries, whatever, what have you. So I started getting into that and kind of coordinating that sort of things. And I'm like, I really like events. Cool. Yeah. And then a good friend of mine was working at a law firm. And she's like, oh, they're looking for an event planner. Like, why don't you come? Sweet. So interviewed there, got the job, worked, loved it.
Yep.
Did such cool events, like serious big budget events. Which was very cool.
So cool. I can't even imagine the like email that says, here's your budget.
Right.
And you're like,
there is no budget.
Yeah.
Make it good. Like, impress our clients.
And you're like, done.
Yeah.
I can do that. Yeah.
So I did that for a while and then had my first baby.
Amazing.
Did not want to go back to that corporate lifestyle.
Right.
Like, the job was so demanding. The hours were crazy. And I just thought, here's this tiny human. I'm never going to see him. So something's got to give. So we ended up actually having our wedding reception at the Richmond. And I fell in love with it because it was a green venue. And obviously it's just strikingly beautiful. And it's so minimal. Like, it's not fussy, which is kind of my aesthetic. So we ended up getting married there, and the previous owner, we're now on third generation owners of the Richmond, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
It's pretty cool. We keep kind of passing it down, which is fun. But so she and I got to talking, and I was like, well, I'm an event planner, and she was like, oh man, I want to retire. And so we ended up kind of doing a deal right after the wedding. So it took a little time, as, you know, these big purchases do, and I ended up being, I think it was 4 months pregnant when she's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, oh my God, shit, I'm like pregnant, and I have a 1-year-old at home. This could not be worse.
Oh my gosh.
But, and I'm like, I'm gonna just chalk it up to hormones, because I thought, yeah, what the hell, let's give it a go.
Let's do it. You jumped in both feet.
Jumped in.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, so that landed me there.
Were you super nervous about it? Or were you like, I got this, I think I can do this?
Weirdly, no, because I am a very nervous person. Like, I certainly talk myself out of many things.
What? I think of you as the most confident person.
That's awesome. Fake it till you make it is my motto, so clearly it's working.
It's working so well.
But yeah, no, I was not nervous. I was oddly so sure of myself. And I think the reason is I knew that I wanted to work. I was at home. I took my first mat leave with Benny.
Right.
And it was not for me. Like, it was
see that.
Just no. And I really struggled. I felt really isolated, really lonely. And this was not the time where women were even talking about this kind of stuff. None of my friends really had babies.
True.
Yeah, I really it was not for me. Let's leave it there. That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
Motherhood podcast.
Motherhood.
So I knew that if I was my own boss, I could manage both. I couldn't comprehend going to work and managing being a mom at the same time, which seems almost counterintuitive because most people think, well, you'll go to daycare, I'll go to work, and then we'll hang out.
Yeah.
That seems almost easier. And now, having done it,
like, okay, that was probably easier.
Would have been a better choice, potentially. But at the time, it was not for me.
And you knew you wanted to see your kids more.
Yes.
And you had a lot of goals.
Yes.
You were
always with the goals.
Yeah. So
when you and I met, I had Bridget. And so she was a couple months old, so she came to work with me. Like, I was nursing her every 2 hours. Yeah. Like, she was attached to the hip.
Yep.
So where else could I have done that? At the time, I couldn't imagine.
I don't know. Right? Especially downtown Toronto.
Yeah, people bring their dogs to work.
Right.
Like, you don't bring your infant and nurse every 2 hours. So that was not really an option. So, I mean, potentially it could have been. I could have thought outside the box. But at the time, it was like, no, this is exactly what I want. I want to have the venue. I want people to come to me.
Yep.
I want to be able to juggle family and work. Have the work-life balance, which the irony of that is like out the window. But yeah, so no, to answer your question, no, I wasn't really nervous. I just thought, yeah, I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah, I never got nervous from you. Never.
Great.
I never did. I was like, this girl has it locked down.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. Someone who, like, I was in a serious relationship, like, looking to get married soon, and I mean, I've probably told you this. I definitely look up to you as someone, as a mentor.
So sweet.
Just because you have always been able to handle, like, you're an amazing wife, an amazing mom, an amazing businesswoman. I was like, that's everything I want to be. And then we would have these cool discussions about like when you gave birth. And I was like, girl is amazing. And you told me things that I was like, why aren't women talking about this?
Yes. And that was my prerogative. I'm like, I need to tell women real things.
Yep.
Because
and you
it
still
is
do.
not kittens and rainbows.
No.
Like,
which everyone makes it look like.
Exactly.
And everyone wanted to like push down this like, let's not talk about the hard times.
No.
But I love that you were just so honest, and I was like, we're gonna be friends.
I was worried I was gonna scare you from never having children.
No, I was like, she's being so honest, and I need that.
And we all need that.
Yeah.
We all need that. And I do actually, one of my favorite things has been I guess paying it forward to my girlfriends who have had kids later to be like, guess what? It's gonna be sucky, but it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be hard.
So hard.
So hard. And if you go in thinking anything else, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think that's the same with business. It's gonna be hard.
Totally.
And I often, people ask me all the time, how do you know you want to be an entrepreneur? It's like, well, I don't work well for others. Right. I play really well with others. I work with others well. I don't work well for others. So
such a good
I think
point.
the second you can be honest with who you are as a person, how you work, how you interact with people, you can kind of design your own landscape, if you will. I was on a tangent that I don't remember where I was going with. So.
No, I think you're just relating like that you were being honest with me, you were being honest with yourself too. So you knew it could have been a tougher street, but you went down that street knowing it was going to be probably a little bit tougher.
Yeah, but knowing that there are aspects of all jobs that are going to be sucky.
Totally.
So as long as the good outweighs the sucky, then you're headed in the right path, I think.
Agreed.
And for me, the sucky was going to be working for someone else.
Of course. And like you said, you wanted people to come to you.
Exactly.
And they did.
And they did, thankfully.
Yeah, they really did. So that was that day that I met you, that would have been, what, a year into owning it? No, not.
Oh, goodness,
no. 6 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to say 6 months.
That's wild. So, so then kind of where did it go from there?
Okay, so from there, 6 months in. So once Bridget got too big, I hired a nanny.
Makes sense.
No, I gave her to the nanny that I already had for Benny, which was great because I adored her and she was wonderful, and I felt really confident in terms of her taking care of my infant.
Right.
So I juggled that. So that was helpful. So she was wonderful and I leaned on her a lot, and it was a lot of like write emails when the kids are napping or sleeping at night. So I was on site for meetings, and then I hightailed it back home so I could have dinners with them, and so I could put them to bed, and then I would work until the wee hours, doing up contracts or estimates or floor plans or what have you, and just juggled it that way.
Totally.
But I feel like when you're what's the like old saying, when it rains it pours, or
totally.
if you want something done, ask a busy person. Like,
yes.
You just kind of
all of those things.
all the things, all the sayings. You just don't come up for air. You don't think about how crazy it is, because then you're will
just doing
stop and cry.
Of course you will.
So you just go forth.
Yep. And you had a great partner who...
Oh, my husband. I was like, I don't have a business partner.
Your husband.
My husband
was a great partner.
He was amazing.
And you guys just have made it work, which is so awesome.
So luckily his job is also flexible, and I think that was really what made me able to do it, because it does need to be a partnership, and parenting a partnership,
huge partnership.
But but business needs to be, there you have to have that other person to help you out. And I mean, though he was not involved in the business at all, he was certainly a sounding board. He helped me in more ways than I can even imagine, and whether it was just on the personal side, I could not have done it without him.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, lucky, very lucky.
Very lucky. And people will say, "Oh, but she had that, so that was great for her." It's like, no, but you can make that happen too.
Absolutely.
You can make it happen in any type of situation that you're in.
Yeah. And the key, if I may interrupt you, is asking and demanding what you need.
Right.
And setting yourself up with that. And we can all assume, and I know there's lots of talk about people being like, "Oh, my husband's babysitting the kids." Well, no, he's parenting. Yeah. And you need to set that expectation of, we both made these tiny humans. We both are responsible for looking after them.
For sure.
And we're both
I'm going to go do this.
Yeah. Yep. So it's give and take for sure, and you make sacrifices, but to be open and honest in your relationship is key.
Huge.
Is key. And to set the expectation.
That's what you needed to get through what you guys were
couldn't have done it without.
Doing.
Yeah.
Both
absolutely.
of you being the busiest humans.
Yeah,
literally. So okay, so let's go back. So you owned the... When did you actually...
Tangenting.
I love it. I love it. I love jumping around. People love that.
Okay, keep it on track though, for real. That's your job.
So you purchased the Richmond, and what year was that then? Let's go back.
Question. 2013. Bridget was born 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
And then
sold it in 2018. So 5 years, almost to the day.
Wow.
It was August and August.
Wow.
Yeah. So exactly 5
So
years.
what originally pushed you to buy that? You were like, I mean, we kind of just went over that.
Yeah,
But
so wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
As an event planner, I knew how difficult it was to constantly be looking for the venue, like the right venue all the time. This was always my prerogative with, or my job description, if you will, at the law firm was, okay, what's new, what's cool, where can we go, what can we do, like be creative, think outside the box. And I was quite frankly got tired of that.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, well, if I have the venue, other people can look for me and come to me as opposed to me
ideas.
searching.
Yes.
So that was sort of the impetus for that, plus obviously the work-life balance that I already mentioned.
Right.
So, yeah, did that.
Amazing.
Loved it.
And then, so what kind of brought you to the selling point?
Right. So the journey, though 5 years actually in hindsight kind of seems quite fast, it felt lengthy.
Yep.
So being on the venue side, I don't think that I appreciated as a planner how great it was to plan my event and then leave. And often you could leave before it was done, right?
Oh, always.
Yeah. It's the function is happening, you're no longer needed.
Right.
Like people are taking care of it, you've got staff, you've got managers, your job is done.
For sure.
So you can be, in bed tucked in by 10, let's say.
The best.
Depending on. And those are things I like. In bed tucked in by 10.
Yeah.
But I did not realize that on the venue side, you are the one locking up.
Right.
You are there to the bitter end.
At the 2-3 in the morning.
Exactly. So so my work-life balance all of a sudden became, I'm working evenings and weekends, and as my kids got older and they were in school, I'm like, oh, I actually don't see you ever.
Ever.
So this whole plan to have more time with them kind of flipped on its head.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a clear indication that my life at home had changed.
Right.
And thus I needed to change professionally as well.
Right.
So that was sort of the first indicator. The second one is I make a joke of this, but I think it actually rings true, is I think I have professional ADD. Like I did 5 years of staring at the same 4 walls.
Yep.
And I kind of got bored.
I get that.
I really did.
Yep.
And I think the other thing too, and this might work, like this is by no means a deterrent for venue ownership in general,
right.
But for me, I missed the creativity because all of a sudden I was just running a business. I wasn't planning events.
People were coming to you we're doing this, this, and this. And
Exactly. So either they had their own event planner who did all that stuff, or they had the caterer who did all that stuff. And so I lost the fun, creative side of event planning, and it was just like, oh, the plumbing broke, or you need to hire a new manager, and now we're having HR issues. Like it became, tax season is upon us.
The worst.
Like, the worst.
Yeah.
So my job, the more successful I got, and the more I had to outsource the things that other people could do,
were the ones that you like to do.
Was the stuff I like to do.
Yeah.
And I was stuck doing the things that nobody else could do, and I actually didn't like doing.
Interesting.
So that sort of, again, flipped things on its head.
That makes so much sense. Like looking back, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
You were losing the best parts.
The best parts for me.
Yes.
So for other people, and I think the women that I sold the venue to, they're more on the business side. This is their second venue. They're like, let's do this. They're, they have the elements of the job that I didn't.
I see.
And thus it was a perfect transition for them and for me to be like, no, I'm no longer interested in the day-to-day.
Right. So which is perfect. And I think there's something to be said for the professional ADD is I feel like you're also someone who always wants to be learning.
Yes.
And at that point, you got everything you really needed out of that venue.
I did.
And like you said, 5 years is quite quickly, but it's also like, that's a good chunk of your life.
Yeah.
To say like, I did this and I'm ready to move on.
Exactly.
Because like you said, you did have those 5 years to stare at those 4 walls. Yeah. And that's really what it came down to. You were like, okay, I've retired every idea in the head. Exactly. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Which is great.
Yes. And I think first it was struggle because I felt like I was admitting failure or defeat in some aspects. But we do outgrow things.
Of course we do.
Like styles change, your friendships change. You want to move
basically
houses,
everything,
right?
Literally everything.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for like change is a little bit scary and daunting, but if you want that change, if you want that different scenery, that different day to day, you have to make that decision. Even if it is like, is this
terrifying.
It was
terrifying.
I totally can imagine that.
It was terrifying. But we think about how many hours we spend at our job, and if it's not fulfilling, you gotta get out.
You have
no matter how terrifying that is. And granted, again, I was in a good position where I was able to sell it, so that was
Right.
great.
It was
and walk
amazing.
away, empty-handed. And I was able to see it continue because
That's what I was gonna say.
yeah,
is
that
such
would
a
have broken my
rewarding-
heart for it to close, because it is beautiful and there are so many memories. I mean, for me personally, I got married there. Like we had my brother's 30th birthday there. You know, we did a million shoots and pop-ups and things that you and I collaborated on together. And anyway, so it would have been heartbreaking to see it close.
For sure.
So I feel like I kind of got the best of both worlds, which was amazing. And not being, I guess, the sole breadwinner, if we're really going down this road, I had the support of my partner, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Your
home partner.
My love of my life. Had him to support me through that transition, which was very lucky.
Yeah, and necessary.
Very necessary.
At that point.
For me.
Yeah, exactly. For you. Yeah. What was your favorite part of owning the Richmond?
So this is a tough one, and I did give this a lot of thought throughout my journey because many people have asked me this.
Okay.
And I think it was the people that I met.
Yeah.
Like the friends. So for me, one of the, we talked about why I wanted to leave. One of the biggest things was it was very lonely. So
I can relate to
and
that.
a lot of, CEOs or presidents or whomever's say like being on the top is the loneliest place to be. Because I had staff. I couldn't talk to them about shit.
No.
Like this was all in my head. So one of the things I regretted was not doing it with a business partner and just having somebody to like bounce ideas off of and brainstorm and just be like, am I crazy or is this a good idea?
Yeah.
Or no, you are crazy. That's terrible. Like just to have that other person and to have the companionship. So for me, it was a very lonely experience.
Yeah.
So my favorite part, to get back to your question, was the relationships that I made, the friendships that I got out of it. I mean, I was constantly working with various vendors, and I was able to develop some really good friendships that have now lasted past my time there.
Exactly.
I mean, look at you and I now
I
still.
know.
Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So that, I would say, I mean, I got to see such cool events, and I got to see
bet.
the space transformed, and I got to, just meet incredible people. Like, I'll never forget, Margaret Atwood did an event there, within the first month of me owning it. And
Incredible.
she's just such a cool lady. So that was neat. So things like that, very cool.
Very.
But the biggest takeaway is just the people that I met there, and I still get to have those relationships.
That's the best.
I feel really lucky about that because
That's
I would
so
never
true.
have crossed paths otherwise.
No.
Right?
No. And I think the loneliness factor is something that a lot of entrepreneurs face.
Definitely.
So to hear that in that lonely space, you still were able to get, like, the biggest takeaway was the people you met. That's pretty incredible.
Yes.
To say that you almost had like a little bit of both.
True.
Which I mean, maybe with a partner you wouldn't have had that.
Yeah.
Maybe those connections that you made wouldn't have been so strong.
Very good point.
So it's interesting.
Great psychoanalyze
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yes,
Just
I
going
love it.
deep.
No, you're right, because I was desperate and I was really working on those relationships because I needed them to survive the lonely days.
But I also think, like, as the person who came into the Richmond, we saw you as, oh my gosh, this girl is killing it.
Right.
I want to be around you. People wanted to be around you.
That's
so
very kind.
just because you're an awesome person.
Well, sure.
Well, sure. So that's a really great takeaway. What an incredible gift, really.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
To say, like, look at these connections. Because I know that you still have incredible connections with a ton of people in the wedding industry and just people, period. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that is really cool. So something that I'm sure a lot of people have also asked you, what's something that you've learned from owning a wedding venue downtown Toronto?
Yeah.
In like the heart of it.
so many things. I don't even know where to begin. And again, it's like, I think it's the weird things that I was caught off guard by. Like, noise complaints.
True.
And how do you handle those? Like, we were in a condo, so there was people that lived there and worked there and complained.
A lot.
Like, weddings and parties are loud. So that was new to me. So I was like, oh, well, get a decibel reader on your phone and stand outside and make sure it's your, okay, I will do that.
Yeah.
Like, there's an app for
That's
that,
a thing.
of course. So yeah, random things like that. And then, and I
Interesting.
think there was a lot, and I think I always talk about events actually quite similar to the theater, like to my theater roots of a play, because as long, like, if you mess up, you keep going.
Totally.
And as long as you don't be like, stop the show, I fucked up a line.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the audience has no idea.
Totally.
And similarly, the guests at an event, they have no idea what's happening behind the curtain, right? Behind the scenes, maybe the caterers dropped all the dinners.
Right.
That's okay, we'll improvise.
Yep.
Like, you gotta be on your toes, improvising at all times.
Which you loved.
Which
you
I
loved
loved.
that part. I could see that.
I loved that part, because otherwise, this is boring.
Right.
And like,
give me something.
challenge me.
Yes.
Like, let's make it fun.
Did you find you were there were wedding planners event planners that would come in. Did you find you assisted a lot with those?
I did a lot.
Of course.
I did a lot. And actually that was one of the struggles, was I would meet the clients, because I did obviously the majority of the sales. I would meet the clients and they'd be like, well, we want you to work. And it's like, well, I don't want to work.
Yeah, you're like,
I don't want
I
to
just
come
want
in
to
on
do like this
Saturday
part
in the summer when I could be camping with my kids.
Totally.
Or, doing something fun. But they wanted me. And then because we were a smaller venue, the clients that we had, smaller budget, so they often didn't have the planner of their own.
Right.
And then because I loved that part of the job, I often did step into that role.
Of course you did.
Of course I did.
Yeah.
And then therefore I was there.
Yes.
So again, I don't know where you're going with that question. It's tangenting. But yeah, so I did. I was very much hands-on. Like, hands-on to the point where my wait staff was like, please stop, you're taking away all of our jobs. We have nothing to do. Stop
That's
bussing.
amazing.
Yeah. But I loved it. I loved it.
I can see that in you, just because and I think it comes from like, you just want to help.
Yes.
And again, like you said, you liked feeling that I feel challenged in this moment. So like, give me that role.
Exactly.
Because even when we collaborated on so many things, but when I would bring like a wedding event to you, you would help so much. Yeah. And I was like, man, again, like I was just like, I absolutely loved it. I never felt like you ever overstepped. I felt that you had such good opinions and good advice to be like, well, why don't you try this? Oh yeah. So I think that people loved that. Good. Also.
I hope so.
Oh, totally.
It's always nice to get that kind of feedback.
Totally.
Because most people don't give you feedback.
No, you're like, that was great, bye, and you're like, thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
So interesting. So you really found a lot of challenging moving parts.
Oh yeah, sorry. So we were talking about that. So what were my challenges? So again, I feel like I was very naive going into it. I just thought, oh, this will be fun. I'll have the space and I'll plan events and like everything will be hunky-dory. And then it was like, oh, the kitchen sink is backing up into the bathroom sink and there's food coming into the bathroom. Okay, so challenge.
Yes.
Right, did not anticipate that.
No.
Or,
how could you?
In my first couple months, the HVAC unit went. It was like, oh, you have to replace that. Perfect. That's $10,000.
Yeah.
Cool. Like,
nice little pop-up of
like don't have any money, but okay, this sounds like fun. And then it was, how do you deal? Like, we had an engagement party that night and we had no heat in February.
Wow.
In Toronto with glass for
everywhere.
Walls. Like
everywhere.
Yeah, glass for walls, which have zero insulation. Yeah. And so the women were wearing their parkas and like their boots instead of their cute high heels and their cocktail dresses. So, and how do you navigate that? How do you apologize for essentially ruining someone's engagement party or whatever, event?
But also still staying professional.
Exactly.
Because you want them to come back.
Sure. I mean, I don't think those people are coming back.
True. But it was
ideally,
how you dealt with that
and
situation.
I think that's the biggest thing. People are always so afraid to be vulnerable or afraid to apologize. But that's what actually makes people find like you more.
Of course.
And are more endearing towards you. So yeah, I mean, I was humble for sure, especially in the beginning. Very, very humble and very keen to also take people's advice. Whoever, had worked professionally in different spaces. Well, how could I function better? Or what's missing here?
Right.
Or what could I do, to be better? Even when I hired interns, from whatever colleges to come and intern with me for their placements, I'd be like, well, listen, if you see something and you think it could be better,
tell me.
I have no ego.
No.
Like, my goal is to make this a success.
Totally.
If you have an opinion, lay it on me.
And you're so approachable.
I think so. I try to
totally.
Be. Yeah.
I'm sure all of those intern students would say that too.
Yeah. Thankfully I had some great staff, and
That's
they did.
awesome.
And they were comfortable to say things, which
awesome.
I'm hopeful that was, and I think that made it a better experience.
Totally.
A, for them working, and ideally for the event,
whatever was happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So the things that you learned while working at the Richmond also can really help going forward.
Absolutely.
In like so many parts of your life.
In every part of my life.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But I think, isn't that life? Like,
totally.
don't you go through, you learn stuff, you apply it.
In everywhere.
Right?
Yes.
And I always make the joke, every day's a school day, because you never stop learning.
Yeah.
And if you do, you've gone wrong somewhere.
Somewhere
something has happened and you've missed a huge red flag.
Yes.
Because you should always be learning. But
Agreed.
yes, the day-to-day skills of like working with people, sales, thinking on my toes, this is life.
Yeah.
Like this is life in general.
Yep.
So it was certainly a great, like by no means do I ever have any regrets for doing it.
Totally.
The amount of experience that I gained, and like I said, the people that I met, and the life skills. I mean, it's just
like overflowing.
Yeah. And it's no other experience, I don't think, of being thrown to the wolves
100%
would have given me that.
Yep. Yeah.
And I often liken it to like an MBA or something where you're like,
course.
okay, here I go, teach me everything.
Jump in.
And I'm gonna fail 100 times, but here's willing, God willing, at the end, here's hoping that I make it out alive.
Of course. And like, of those 100 times that you failed, there's probably 200 or 300 times where you majorly succeeded.
Yes.
And I mean, we all look to our faults a lot quicker.
100%.
All those crazy days where you're like, how did that even happen?
Right.
But then you had to remember the amazing events that people have walked away saying, oh, I had this amazing event at the Richmond, and that's something that they'll have for the rest of their lives.
And I think that's the unfortunate thing is we focus on like the negative reviews instead of the
course.
positive. But I think people are more likely to leave a negative review than a positive one.
Of course they are.
So so I'm like, if I've learned anything, back to your original question, compliment people.
Oh, I
give
totally
constructive
agree.
feedback. Like be positive, because people need that.
Of course.
Because all we do is focus in on the crap,
Negative.
and we never focus on the positive. So
that's so funny you say that, because I read, actually, Gwen Stefani I forget where I even read it, but she said years ago, I read this, and she said, if you see someone who's doing something great, or you like something about them, or even like their earrings, tell them. Yeah. I guarantee you will brighten their day. And I've really tried to, I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
And even, especially working in customer service, as we both do, it's so nice. If I have a good experience at a store, I'll call back and immediately ask to speak to the manager. And they're like, is everything fine? And I'm like, yes, everything's fantastic. I need to tell you how great you guys are doing.
That's wonderful.
Because like, they probably haven't been told in months that they've been doing great. So I agree. I think our automatic reaction is to, I want to do something about, because I'm angry.
Yes.
Let's leave a negative review. And it's like, well, great. Now I have these 10 stories that I'm going to remember forever. But it's like, think about all of those couples that got married, or people who went to art shows and were moved by the beautiful art, or did a yoga class and will remember that space and that amazing event that was put on. Yeah. Because you were there.
Exactly. So people listening, if you have one takeaway, positive reviews. Tell people good things.
It could be as simple as just telling the person, thanks for smiling at me. Right. You know? Like there was a person, and I was too busy. You know, when those stores were super busy, and I'm like, hi, how are you? And they're like, what do you need? And I'm like, wow. I'm like, you need to take a breather. Yeah. Because people just get so on this repeat train.
Yes, or like tunnel vision.
Yeah, tell them. Be like, you okay? Yeah. You having an okay day? Take a break. Go outside. Exactly. Oh my gosh. And I think having the jobs that we do, that has helped us. Yes, for sure.
For life.
What is something that you would tell someone who would want to buy a wedding venue or event venue? I keep saying wedding venue.
Okay, it's a wedding podcast.
True.
We do a lot of weddings. Great question. Positive or negative? What do you want from me?
Both.
Okay. So a positive that I would tell somebody is just to be, I guess, open to kind of allowing people to come into the space and get creative. Like, I think in the beginning, I was so, what's the word I'm looking for? I was so like possessive, and I wanted and I wanted to be all hands on deck, and I wanted to own every aspect of it. Yeah. And then, thankfully, inadvertently, I got too busy to have my hands in every pot.
Which is kind of good.
And then I watched what people did, and I was like, oh, I should just step back.
Let them do
it. So to all the like future venue owners out there, if you come from a wedding planning background, it might be a bit tricky to lessen that leash and let people take over. But the more you can do it, I think the more you would actually learn from it. Totally. In terms of events, sure, but also just like life lessons. People see things differently. Totally. Open your eyes to that perspective, and you could actually learn a whole lot more.
What a great point.
And then on the negative side, or the not so good, is just be cognizant of the fact that, like, when shit breaks, it's your fault. Yeah. And if you're not handy and don't have like a handyman 911 on speed dial, be prepared to get your hands dirty. Yeah. Because you gotta figure that shit out.
Like ASAP.
ASAP.
Yep.
And
what a good point too.
And I guess I think to my earlier point is just be humble and apologize. Like, an apology goes a long way.
Of course it does.
And if something messes up, like, it's
take ownership.
Take ownership. Sure, you're the owner. The buck stops with you.
Yeah.
But also, an apology goes a long way.
Okay.
And being
really
humble.
Great.
Being humble.
That's a big one,
without letting yourself be stepped on or walked all over.
Very true.
Be strong.
I feel like you did really well with that.
It was a learned
was it? Okay.
skill for sure.
Because it's so easy to be like, oh gosh,
100%.
what can I give you to make this?
Service industry. The customer's always right. Guess what? Sometimes they're wrong.
Yeah.
And don't take that shit home with you.
No.
Leave the baggage.
Yep.
Like leave what happens at the venue.
Yep.
And go home.
And enjoy what you've done.
Exactly.
To get back to with your kids and your family.
Yeah.
Really good points.
Thank you.
Oh, those are fantastic.
Oh, great.
I really hope everyone who's listening wants to buy a venue because you just gave great tips. It's so true. Like, and I think those tips can be kind of brought to starting their own business.
100%.
Even if there's no overhead, which you had, but even if there isn't an overhead, you still have to be resourceful. You still have to think on your toes. You still have to apologize.
Yes.
There are times where it's like, oh man, I really did fuck up right now. I do need to apologize and take ownership.
Yeah.
I think I agree. I totally agree with you with entrepreneurs. There is that fine line of getting walked all over, but also taking ownership, saying, you know what, this is what I'm prepared to do for you because I did make a mistake.
Exactly. Own up to your mistakes. You'll learn and they'll learn. You don't think somebody who gets apologized to isn't going to go, oh wow, I should apologize for my own shit that I do. Right? Like, hopefully that's just the paying it forward.
Should be reciprocal,
message, yeah.
Amazing. I love it.
Thanks, Jill.
Well, I'm sad that you no longer own the Richmond, but I love that we have an amazing relationship still, obviously, but also for what comes next. So before we get there, just to go back to, because like you said, it is a wedding podcast.
Yes.
What are some of the best parts of being part of a wedding story as the venue?
Okay, well, on the personal side, not as the venue, I love.
Obviously.
So, like, so into it.
Yes.
Cried at every single wedding.
Oh my gosh.
Legit.
Of course you did.
Of course. It was, like, actually embarrassing. I often had to take myself out of the room because I was so embarrassed for crying. But at their love, like, it is such a magical day.
Oh, it's the best.
But yeah, I think just being a part of somebody's wedding story, like, you don't appreciate that you are a part of that. Just because you're the venue.
Oh, I think you're part of it.
And so to be able to, I guess, like, to be kind, to be supportive of their relationship. And this is something that I told a lot of my clients, which was, yes, this is about the wedding. You're obviously here to have your wedding.
Right.
But guess what? This is also your marriage.
Yeah.
So,
such a good point.
So be thinking long term. Like, we are gonna, maybe you don't need to spend the extra X amount of dollars on that perfect bouquet of whatever. And like, to all the florists out there, I'm not trying to take away your money.
Totally.
But pick and choose, prioritize, and remember that this is not about one day. This is about, like, hopefully your one whole life, together. Yeah. Like, ideally you're not doing this again. If you are, also cool. And divorce parties are a new thing. So for venue owners, try and market there. But yeah, like, try and be cognizant of the fact that it's not just about the one day.
So true.
Additionally, you're also not there for other people. You're there for you. Make the decisions that you want for your day, not to please your great
everyone
aunt
else
and, like, your friends who need a certain type of wine. Like, this is your day.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Don't be crying in the back because, like, the chicken wasn't cold enough or hot enough or whatever. Like, literally whatever. I have seen it. And so if you can actually focus on the bigger picture, so to answer your question.
That's okay. I love this.
The wedding story, like, I think we get so caught up in the one day, and the wedding story is actually something that they're going to take with them for life. Yeah. So being a positive, a positive touchstone on that day when they're freaking out is also pretty cool. And I mean, you touched on how I'm approachable, which is great. And I think I found that with a lot of my clients. Like, they would come to the back for a break and I would sit there and just chat with them.
That's the best.
And just give them a bit of almost a reality check, but also just like, you got this. Yeah. Like, I know it's overwhelming. I know you have to talk to 100 people, but you're doing great.
Yeah.
Your vows were awesome. Like, you cried. Who cares? Everybody cried. I cried. Yeah. Like, just embrace the day.
That's so awesome.
So I loved that aspect. I loved the, like, building a relationship with the clients. And I was actually oftentimes quite sad when it was over and I would never see these people. And I mean, there's people that I like follow on Instagram still and we've maintained, and now they're having babies and I'm obsessed with them. And like, so by no means are we like hanging, but I feel like I've kept kind of like a little bit of a window open.
I love the window. I love the window to see them, that wedding story continue, to know that you were a part.
And the next generation. It's so magical.
It really is. So you getting to see that is really cool. And it must be hard. I mean, there is repeat business, but not as common.
No, and that's okay. And I mean, often, you get it in a different way where it's like, oh, this is a really cool venue. I'm hosting, my dad's 60th.
Right.
How many can you see?
I have a friend I need to.
Exactly.
And I think, too, specifically with the Richmond, it was such a unique boutique kind of venue that you did get really special weddings. Yeah. Like, really... Yes. It just came down to love and intimacy.
Which was cool because I was this essentially uninvited guest at these people's
totally.
weddings. Like, so how was I part of their wedding story? I was there. Yeah. Not because I was a friend or a family or whatever, but I got to witness that most intimate, special day.
Yeah, with 60 other friends?
Yeah, often very small. We did a 14-person, a 10-person. Like, beautiful. So and I got
special.
To be there.
Yeah.
How cool.
So cool.
Other people didn't make the cut.
No, exactly. You got someone else got shafted, so you could be there.
VIP status.
And I'm sure too that knowing that you kind of gave those couples that one-on-one touch and that break when they did need to come to the back, they probably thought, wow, I'm so happy that Alex was there.
I hope so.
Oh, for sure.
I hope so.
I would be.
Thanks.
I was when I was hosting a wedding show and no one was there and I was like, thank you. Alex always smiling. Okay, what can we do? Okay, let's do this. Yeah. I think you always had a really positive take on, okay, it may not be working as much as we want right now, but what can we do? Yeah. And that's huge. Yeah. There are venues that you book it and you never see the person that you owned it from ever. You don't even have that face to face. So
that was not my style.
Not at all.
Maybe too much FaceTime with me.
No, I think that's fantastic. I think people love that part of, because with their venue, you don't think, oh, I'm going to have this great relationship. And then they walk away with that.
And I hope so, because I think, and again, just shout out to all the people out there doing their thing, is be true to yourself.
For sure.
You can't be something you're not. It won't be genuine. People will see right through it. No. So yes, I joke about fake until you make it, but at the end of the day, I was myself. And myself was that person who wanted to be on the floor.
Of course.
Chatting with people, coming up with things, giving them advice, doing whatever. I was there because I loved it.
Of course. And there are people who would say, I'm just going to sit upstairs in my office and give them their space.
Great.
And exactly. People maybe want that too. Mm-hmm. So you're right. Just be who you are. Don't put it on too much.
Exactly.
Which is a good point as well.
Exactly.
So what's next for you?
Lots of fun
All the fun things.
Lots of things in the pipeline. So I'm currently in school.
Okay.
Which is very fun.
Again, always learning this
Always learning. Yes. I know. That's why I laughed earlier. I'm like, of course, always learning. Back in school. So I am doing mediation.
Awesome.
Conflict resolution.
Amazing.
And at the same time, doing my officiating license to kind of keep my one foot in the door of the weddings because I love love. I loved the ceremony of the wedding. I loved that intimate exchange, that utter vulnerability and intimacy. It's so special.
It's the best.
It's so special.
Gives you little chilies,
right?
Yeah.
You're the other uninvited guest. At the
totally.
weddings.
I really am. Yeah, we get that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going the officiating route, which kind of more is a hobby per se, but also because of my love of weddings
and ceremonies.
And ceremonies especially. And one of the things that I really want to be able to offer my future clients, if you're getting married soon, let me know.
Yeah, big time.
Is pre-wedding counseling.
Incredible.
So not counseling in the sense of let's get real deep into our childhood trauma.
No.
But hey, who's going to take out the trash every week? And do you want kids? You'd be surprised how many people don't have that conversation.
That blows my mind.
Are we going to have a shared bank account? Who's going to take time off? Are you going to take pat leave? Maybe I don't want any mat leave. Exactly. What about if you stay home? There's nothing wrong with that. But let's have those conversations.
Yep.
So traditionally, when people got married in the church, you had to go to marriage
talk to the priest.
Yeah, exactly. You had to have marriage lessons or whatever, marriage prep.
Yes.
If you will, with the priest. And if you did not, they would not marry you in that church.
Right.
Now people are obviously going the secular route and they're not doing the church weddings. They're getting married, in wherevers.
Yeah.
And as a result, people aren't really forced to ask those tough questions of each other and have those sort of crucial conversations.
That are crucial.
Crucial.
Like, so important. It blows my mind when people say, oh, we've never talked about that.
Right? And you're married.
I'm like, how are you this far?
And people assume that, well, we live together, we know.
You don't.
You really don't.
No.
And I don't want to be that, like, super cliche, oh, everything changes when you're married. But there is a significant shift.
Of course.
I felt it. I know you felt it. We've had this conversation. And so why not prepare for that shift?
Of course.
And so one of the things I want to do to make it really accessible is to do it in a group style.
Love that.
So, hey, guess what? It bugs you that your partner doesn't put the cap back on the toothpaste? Well, before that becomes like a major issue, let's nip it in the bud. And let's realize that also bothers Bob and Sue and Sally. You're not alone. You're not crazy for being irritated by these things.
Totally.
And now what steps can we take to have that not escalate into a major problem and a potential divorce? Like, let's be honest, it's 50-50 right now.
It really is.
Still.
It is.
So, like, let's be preemptive.
Yep.
Let's have those crucial conversations. Let's open up the dialogue. Let's do it in a group manner so we realize that we're not alone, because I think that's the biggest thing. You think you're the only crazy person who hates this. No, you're not. Everybody does.
Everyone. And that can also translate, the toothpaste cap can also translate to the pants on the floor.
Right.
The garbage.
The wet towel on the bed. My biggest pet peeve of life.
Same.
The toilet seat down.
Right?
Like, let's just...
It translates.
Exactly.
So even if you're in that group setting and you're just there to listen, something's going to resonate.
Yes.
And you're going to say, oh my gosh, yes, I am not alone.
I'm not alone. I'm not crazy.
And I can talk about this.
And let's talk about it.
Yes.
And let's find a solution. And you know what? Maybe you're never going to be able to put the toothpaste cap on. Maybe I'm just going to buy my own toothpaste.
Yep.
We'll have 2 toothpaste tubes.
And that's how we live.
Don't care. That means we avoid conflict and we don't have a divorce.
That's fantastic.
Let's go with
these
2 toothpastes.
little like life hacks are necessary for you.
Yes.
And maybe it's not necessary for myself and my husband, but it works for you. Do it.
Exactly.
It's all cost you $3 extra.
Exactly.
It's fine.
Exactly.
Go for it.
So, and it's funny that you said at the beginning of this podcast, like, I am brutally honest. I've told you things about parenting and motherhood and childbirth that were maybe too much. But I think that people don't talk about that enough.
Nope.
I think that people want to put on this air of perfection.
Well, Instagram.
My relationship is perfect. Social media, we only put the perfection. And I know there's a slight shift. People are trying more and more.
They are. You're right.
People are being, a bit more honest, a little less curated. But let's be honest, those are not the people with hundreds of thousands of followers, unless it's like celeb.
Right.
So let's normalize those conversations. And so that's kind of my next step. So bringing it back to the question again.
Yeah, no, I love it.
So officiating it for fun, but doing this like almost group counseling, group marriage prep. I really want to go down that route. And then of course with the mediation, if your marriage doesn't work out, I can divorce you.
Yeah, or help you before that step.
Exactly.
I think that's so smart. Like myself and Mike, we've been married a year now. Yay. And I feel like we have a very healthy relationship, and we did before we got married. Yes. I would be the first one to say, I'll take that course.
Amazing.
I would course.
I would take it.
Course?
Let's do it. Let's make it course. I would too.
I would immediately say, why? What would hurt to talk more?
Exactly.
Nothing will ever go wrong if you talk more about your feelings or even your thoughts. Like, that's a huge part of what you're about to embark on.
Exactly.
So let's
learn how to do it and learn how to be constructive. Like, I mean, we talk a lot in this current course that I'm doing about communication, and people do not communicate well. And it is a learned skill. People think, well, I'm just talking, you're listening, that's communication. No, it's really not. So
I thought it was a common sense thing.
It's definitely not. No, it's really not. So we've been learning a lot about how to actually communicate, how to listen. I mean, for most people, I mean, obviously I'm specifically dealing with conflict, but when you are in conflict, somebody's telling something, you're already thinking of your response. You've tuned them out. You're on to your next point. So you're not actually listening. No. Exactly. So I'll leave you with one quick tip.
Please.
As a bit of a preview to my next chapter.
Oh, I can't wait.
Of learning how to have healthy dialogue. So in communication, so we've been having a great conversation here, right? And you've said some wonderful things. And so imagine if I was sitting here and I said, Jill, such great points. Like, that's really good. But I actually think this. Instead, change that but to an and. Jill, such good points. And to add on top of that, I think this. all of a sudden
So
I haven't
much better.
negated everything you've said
Right.
to prove my point. I've simply added on to it. And we are now in such a more positive way of communicating
Yes.
that we are open and receptive to each other's points of view.
Right.
So this is something that, since I've learned this little tip of replace and for but,
Yep.
I have actively trying because it's tricky.
It's very tricky.
It is so tricky. And I'm sure people listening are like, you said but 1,000 times. And I probably have.
Totally.
Because it is
Because
a
we're trained.
learned thing. Communication is a learned skill. So,
It's so
I
good.
want to teach people that.
Yeah, such a simple thing that
Yeah.
can change, because the person that is listening to you will say, oh, like maybe
They may not even
subconsciously,
realize it.
maybe
Exactly.
subconsciously, but like, oh yeah, she's just, but when someone says, even though I just said it, when someone says but, you're right, it totally negates what
Stomps.
it's got. Yeah, it's kind of like going back
Improv?
to your, I was just going to
Yes,
say that.
I knew it.
Going back to your theater roots,
Yeah.
it really does. It's like you're saying no to
Yeah.
a scene, to an opportunity where it's like, but let's keep this going. Let's have that
Exactly.
open. And I think like one, I think you're perfect for this role.
Thank you.
I really think that I would love to
Oh
even
my god, I'll be the guinea pig you and Mike.
Oh,
for my
we would be
courses.
thrilled for it. There'd
Great.
be things that we will learn. I guarantee.
Things that I'm learning
Yeah.
every day that I'm now teaching my children
Which is
how
fantastic.
to listen and how to talk and how to communicate better. So it's lifelong skills.
It really
for
is.
everything. It's not specific for couples.
Communication or couples or
But
marriage, anything.
It's for everyone and everywhere.
really
and
is.
I bet you, like, I even wrote a paper on this, that if they taught communication in schools, there would be less bullying. There would be less, like, teen suicides and
me
fucking
about
gun, in schools. Like, people want to express themselves and they want to be heard.
and a lot of these people aren't.
And they're not.
Or they don't know how to communicate, or they don't know how to be heard, they don't know how to listen.
And teachers don't know how to.
Maybe that person that did bully that other didn't think they were doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
Because they don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
I say get rid of these like civics and careers.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
taking civics and careers?
Exactly.
I don't remember what I learned from that.
Don't even remember taking it.
So let's go back and
To the basics.
yeah.
The real basics.
Bring it on.
Right?
And if they don't do it in schools, do it outside of it.
Exactly.
That's where you come in
Come
handy.
to me. Come to me. I will teach you all
Yes.
the things.
Yeah. So what is something that keeps you creative and growing and learning? What
I mean, school certainly helps. And the funniest
Totally.
thing about being an adult in school is certainly having a mixed generation.
Ooh, big time.
And
Yeah.
I learn a lot from the youngsters.
Yeah.
Like these young, hip, cool people. They keep me
Amazing.
relevant. So that's amazing. Obviously, my kids teach me a ton.
Yeah.
They're constant learnings.
best.
But in terms of creativity, great question. I don't know. I guess we're so lucky to live in this. I mean, people poo-poo, social media and stuff a lot, but I do spend time on it, and I
Yeah.
do love seeing what other people are doing.
True.
And I've gotten to the point now where I don't look at them, with jealousy. It doesn't trigger me to be like, oh, they're more successful than me. I obviously
Right.
hate them.
That's
Now
really
I'm
great.
fired up. I'm like, that is really cool. What are you doing? What can I take from that and learn something more and then take my strengths or my attributes and apply what you've done to something fresh and new that's just mine.
Right.
So I think we are constantly, being bombarded with various messages and images, and so instead of looking at it as a negative, I guess I just always try and shift my perspective to a positive one and say, well, that's really cool what you're doing.
That's so great.
What can I do?
Yeah.
Because we all have something really cool to add to the world.
Always.
We all have a different interesting perspective, and our life learnings and our travels and our origins and our values and our relationships. Like, we all bring such fresh, cool things
Yep.
that if you can be open and receptive to learning from others instead of just either being jealous or being, shutting them down because they're different, we can all be better.
Yeah.
So I guess I try and focus on that. I
That's
don't know if
amazing.
That answered your question.
No, it totally does. And I think it's funny because we've talked a little bit about social media in my previous podcast, and a lot of people say like it's bad and good.
Yes.
So it's really awesome to hear that you've got such a positive take from
Listen,
it.
as a parent, it terrifies the shit out of me
Oh, yeah.
to raise children in this generation.
For sure.
So what I guess that's kind of where it stems from too, of how can I make this positive? Because it's inevitable.
It is.
It's an inevitable. We're not going back from it.
No.
We are going to keep getting worse, I think.
Yeah.
So how can we pick out what we want to take from it and pick only the good?
Right.
And teach the future generations to also do that. I mean,
Right.
it scares me what girls have to endure right now. That we
crazy.
were lucky. I mean, we had magazines, we had like TV.
True.
Like, we were ghetto.
Yeah.
And now,
But we still
bombarded,
did.
and we still had issues. So
still-
now times that by 1 million.
I can't imagine.
Exactly.
And that's why you have to start so young.
Exactly.
And tell that, like, if, I mean, your kids are young, but they're probably seeing social media.
I try and limit it, but I mean, we're bombarded. We don't even realize it,
yeah.
right?
But even still, like, when they do start, you can start saying, well, this is a positive, because now you can say, good for that person.
Exactly.
They're hustling, they're doing so great, or they got a great score in soccer.
Right.
But that's just bonus for you, because they're going to be happy for you when you get a great goal in soccer. So it is a really good thing to learn really early on. I wish I did that. There are times where I look through and I'm like, I'm not doing enough because everyone else is doing great. But it's like, no, you're doing great.
Yeah. I know. We call that comparison fatigue.
Ooh.
You get so
I get that.
exhausted from comparing your life to others. And if we didn't, we would all be so much happier.
So much happier.
But again, we're not going back. So what can we do? You just take a positive approach and look at what they're doing and then how you can apply that. And if they are working harder, well, maybe you need to work harder. Maybe there's a reason why you're upset or jealous that person is grinding. Go and grind.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're upset about their vacation. Go take one. And, like, you don't have to travel, but, like, take some time.
Take
a
a day.
Take a social media detox.
Yes,
if you're not feeling it. Like, really look inwards. When we look outwards at other people, turn that inwards and say, okay, well, why am I having those feelings?
Exactly.
And what are steps A and B that I can take to overcome that?
Exactly. And try to think, like, there's people who I'm like, oh, these celebrities or whatever, and even just away from, like, the whole business side of things, it's just like, oh, why can't I have that? Oh, that person annoys me. Yeah. Why not think, like, oh, I love that celebrity in this movie. She was so funny, or he was so funny. Cool, moving on. Have a positive conversation in your mind, and then move on.
Your self-worth is not based on somebody else's successes or failures.
Yep.
You need to decide what your self-worth is on your own
without
everything
else. Yeah.
You can edit that one out too.
I love it. No, I love it.
Jinxie, buy me a Coke. Was that the old adage?
But so true. I love that. Oh man, you've got some great stuff coming up.
I know, I'm very excited. So stay tuned.
Okay, we will. We'll have you back on.
Yes.
I would love to have you back on to talk.
I would be honored.
Oh my gosh, literally, we could talk for another couple of hours.
We could talk for years.
We will be.
We will.
Literally. So our last question we always ask. So something that you think in terms of predictions for 2020 in the wedding industry.
Okay.
And even for 2019. We're early on.
I was going to say, what month is it? April.
Yeah.
So early. 2020, I don't know. So I think one of the things I saw just in general, and I think we're still moving towards that, is the shift in the huge, big, crazy weddings. I think we're seeing a lot of more intimate, family only, really quiet, kind of sweet, where the focus is on the love and not on the, like, showing off of whatever you can spend money on.
The biggest floral arrangement, the biggest dress, the best. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I will say there is a lot, again, touching on social media, we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. But I think I saw it certainly in my years, and I'm seeing it moving forward, is people are really trying to pare down the guest list, pare down the overhead, pare down, and just keep the focus on what's important, which is the love and the union and sharing that day with the people that really matter.
Right.
Because those are the people that are going to support you for your next steps, for families if you do that, or for renovating a house, or for career changes. Like, those are your people.
Yeah.
So honor them that have supported the union, that have supported your relationship. Celebrate the day with those. So I'm seeing a lot of that, really small, intimate weddings, which I love. Love.
Same. As a photographer, I mean, there's definitely a place for those big.
100%.
It's special, and that's it's so fun.
It's so great. And if that's your style, go for it.
Go for it. There's still love. There's still that, but it's these intimate weddings are there's just something about them. I don't know if it's the way that you feel when you're there. I mean, that's obviously a part of it, but even just capturing it, there's something so different about it,
special.
And it probably speaks to that couple. Because that's maybe more their speed or their style, and they feel more comfortable. That's what you should be doing. Like you said before, you should be doing what you feel is best.
So I think that there is that shift. There is that really focusing on what do we want as opposed to what do we feel like we should do.
Right.
So I think that's my takeaway for the upcoming.
I think so. I think it's funny because a lot of the other speakers or guests that I've had on have talked about that. Like even the florist said, we're going more simple. Everything is going more simple. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going more simple, and that speaks again to that smaller, intimate. You don't need the big show.
Yes.
People still get a really good feeling from a small, intimate wedding.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Love that. Love those predictions. I love everything you have going.
I love you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, you were a guest from the beginning. Alex is always on top of podcasts, and you've always been like, okay, gotta listen to this one.
Gotta listen to it.
She's great.
Now I'm telling everyone, gotta listen to this one.
Gotta listen to them all.
All of them.
All of them. So I have wanted to have you on for so long, so I'm so glad that you could come and chat, and I'm really excited for what you have coming up. So if people want to find you and reach out, where can they do that?
So definitely website is a coming.
Perfect.
I am working on that right now. Like literally bought my domain, which I'm very excited about. So I will have to do a IOU for more info.
Okay, I was gonna say a photo shoot. I was like, yes, headshots.
Also that.
Yeah.
Thank God. Having a photographer friend is very helpful sometimes. Obviously, anybody can follow me on social, as I've been dissing it, but it's Alex
but
Howard.
Still great.
That's me.
Yep.
Because I will definitely keep that line of communication open and promote via that. But certainly as soon as I have info, I will give it to you.
Please.
And all your listeners.
Please. So that, and along with the officiating. So can people reach out now for officiating?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone can probably hear just the way that you just are.
I'm like,
I would
this is
love
like a test
to have
drive.
you.
Does my voice sound good?
Oh, it sounds fantastic. I would have loved to have had you do ours.
I know, that would have been fun.
Imagine.
Oh, okay, send some friends to me.
I will.
I will do all of them.
I would love that.
So excited.
Yeah.
So excited to share in more love.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited not to have to give that part up, even though the venue is gone.
And those contacts that you made through the Richmond will always be there too. Amazing. Well, thank you again, Alex.
Thank you.
We can't wait to have you on.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Can't wait. And yeah, all the best. Okay, thanks. Bye.